The real answer to the question that I don't want to say perplexes me, but has been a reliable failsafe for clients of mine that are on TRT to regain specifically sexual function. We're talking about on a scale of 1 to 10, libido and erections 8 to 10, has been a very particular dose of testosterone cream with not many ancillaries at all. And these two graphs, which we're going to break down in this video, actually explain precisely why this is the fail-safe cure-all, like resolution TRT protocol for people that are having any number of problems, but specifically problems with their dick and problems with their sexual desire on androgens. Because not only am I going to give you a killer fail-safe protocol with just testosterone cream, but I'm also going to bust a couple myths out there that are going to leave some people scratching their heads. In the meantime, before we start the video, look, Cortex Labs is a performance optimization and hormone consulting company for men. We've got a range of different products ranging from the Torque Stack, which is Adderall without the side effects. You can get that down in the description of this video. It's 35% off right now. Code is on the screen. Source List, a compilation of trusted sources for all anabolics, including DHT powder itself. You can get that down in the description of this video. And lastly, I'm a coach on TRT protocol restructuring. I've got a one-off consult and then longer-term one-on-one packages for those of you that have serious sexual dysfunction. Book me for any of that stuff in under a minute at livecortex.com. All right, so quick preface. I've got a number of fail-safe protocols in case I run an experiment and something goes fucking wrong. Like, you know, like on high doses of testosterone and enthates, like my libido was hit or miss. I really had to fight to control the estrogen and keep it in a sweet spot range, which changed. It actually bumped up 15 or so picograms per milliliter. And although it was doable and I regained my libido and erections on cycle, it was more painstaking. If I run some new protocol that I've never run before, let's call it 50 milligrams testosterone and enthate per day and 4 pumps of testosterone cream per day, just to fucking try it. And within the first 3 weeks, just doing nothing, not managing estradiol or whatever, the libido and erections aren't great, then I try to bring in my new doses of aromasin or maybe high doses of zinc and still can't get it quite straight without heavy manipulation. Well, then I have fail-safe protocols. I have protocols that I can just go right back to that I know will work on a 1 to 10 scale for libido and erections, like in the 8 to 10 range. One of them is 70 milligrams testosterone cypionate every 4th day. Works fucking perfectly. One of them is 70 milligrams test prop a day with 3 pumps of cream and 3.25 milligrams aromasin twice a week. Works fucking perfectly. But one of them is a low dose cream strategy that I want to break down in this video that also works fucking incredibly, that I don't require anything. And I've replicated this in at least a dozen clients. Before we get into the pharmacokinetics of this, the protocol is 3 pumps of transscrotal cream in the morning, every day, no HCG, boys, no HCG, and 30 milligrams pregnenolone daily. No DHEA, no Mastron, no Primobolan, no anything, no Proviron, nothing else. Just that protocol. Now, in this well-known paper, which is titled Pharmacokinetics of Testosterone Cream Applied to the Scrotal Skin, this is to date the best study that we have on scrotal cream. Okay, so you really want to pay attention to this, and I'll cite it down below so folks can go and research it. One of the really interesting things that we find when we look at the measurements of specifically DHT and estradiol is that when we look at this data, over here on the left, we have a graph for DHT. DHT peaks at hour 3. Okay, so this is in hours down at the bottom here where the cursor is. DHT peaks at hour 3. Okay, it kind of goes back down, but then it starts peaking again at hour 9, and it stays elevated all through hour 16, right? So you got constant DHT conversion from testosterone cream applied to the scrotum. Now, this is good. Okay, this is good. You definitely want DHT peaking to the greatest extent possible without causing side effects, but while it can still benefit your sexual function, and that's definitely it. Even on the lower doses of testosterone cream at 12.5 milligrams per pump, we still had a pretty good peak in DHT, albeit a less peak, which ultimately troughed sooner. But if you look at estradiol, and this is where I think the critical distinction comes into play, where people really need to pay attention. Estradiol at the highest dose of the testosterone cream, which was 50 milligrams, did not go above, it looks like 35 picograms per milliliter. And for the majority of this graph right here, estradiol is in like the 20 to 30 picograms per milliliter range, which is just below the top of the reference range for Quest's range on estradiol, which tops out at 29 picograms per milliliter. Which actually coincides perfectly the fact that people get great erections and libido on moderate doses of cream with nothing else, and as evidenced by or as shown in the previous graph, This long paper, which is titled something to the effect of the association between serum estradiol and erectile quality, where they determined based on the results of this analysis, there may be a threshold level of serum E2 at 32 picograms per milliliter above which erectile function is negatively affected. I've already broken this paper down. Estradiol is a major driver of erectile dysfunction on TRT that has been proven time and time again, whether the people that are pro-estrogen want to admit it or not. Now, on the protocol of 3 pumps of testosterone, transcranial testosterone cream at a 20% concentration at 200 milligrams per milliliter per day, 30 milligrams of pregnenolone, and nothing else. No Masteron, no DHEA, and no HCG. My testosterone goes to about 1350 total nanograms per deciliter, and my estradiol is around 22 to 25 picograms per milliliter, which, by the way, is aligned with this anecdotal on Reddit on the testosterone subreddit titled Testosterone Cream. Very surprised how well testosterone cream has worked for me, where you've got previous bloods of this guy. I mean, this is picomolars per milliliter. So the estradiol was at 110. This was prior to dosing testosterone cream. Then you bring the cream into the picture. Total T down here is 39. So that's above the range there. Free testosterone is also above the range here. But you've got estradiol only 10 points up. Okay, it went from 110 to 120 nanomolars per liter, still below the reference range. And this guy, overall well-being increased, libido like nothing I have experienced before, even as a teenager. Well, this would all make sense with serum estradiol falling in a reasonable range, but still having high testosterone, and this happening naturally, meaning not being controlled by the use of an aromatase inhibitor. This is where people get their sexual function back on these fail-safe protocols. So the question is, if that tends to work for people, couldn't you just manipulate your testosterone dose with any ester to be between 1,000 and 1,300 and your estradiol to be between 20 and 30 picograms per milliliter, and then you've got your libido and erections back? The answer to that question is no, not always. That's not always the case, because if you're manipulating or using an AI to do that, and AIs inhibiting aromatase specifically in the brain, but also at the tissue level. Again, AIs do shit we can't even measure at the tissue level. We're talking about, in some cases, a likely close to full depletion of estradiol at the tissue level where we can't even fucking measure. While the serum could say 28 picograms per milliliter, you could have depleted estradiol at the tissue, which, by the way, is very different than serum estradiol at 25 without the use of an AI. And I'm going to prove it. This was an experiment that I ran with 70 milligrams of testosterone cypionate, ran once a week. I was doing daily injections of 10 milligrams, a mere 10 milligrams of shallow intramuscularly injected testosterone cypionate. And this is where my numbers landed. This was 2 hours after injection. Again, I had been doing this for 4 weeks, so my bloods had stabilized at this point. Testosterone was at a mere 573 nanograms per deciliter, so call it 600. Estradiol was 21 picograms per milliliter. Can you imagine what I felt like on this dose? So first of all, my anabolism sucked. Secondly, my energy pretty much sucked. But interestingly, I was sexually insatiable. Morning erections, spontaneous erections, fucking wind blows a certain way, chick walks by, a chick touches my arm at the store, forget it, I'm getting a fucking erection. So again, you would think all you really need to do is have your estradiol in that 20 to 30 range and you get your sexual function back. Except I've been at 1,520 estradiol with the use of an AI and, somewhat high doses of TRT, and I did not have libido and erections, and that is the case for many of my clients using AI. I've been at 4,000 nanograms per deciliter of total testosterone with the use of aromasin, which took my estradiol, I think, actually down exactly to 21. I was dosing it was like 12.5 milligrams every third day or something. And at 4,000 total tests, 21 estradiol, didn't have libido and erections. Like, it was actually pretty bad. So why was estradiol at 21 naturally created estradiol at 21? Meaning, I did nothing. I had no AI in the picture at 70 milligrams a test a week. How did that give me insatiable sexual function? But estradiol at the same range with higher testosterone did not. The answer to that question, in my experience, is that there is a distinct difference. People really need to understand this between lowering estradiol with an aromatase inhibitor and letting estradiol go lower naturally based on your TRT dose. Or, I mean, even like using things like zinc or calcium D-glucarate. There's a distinct difference, and that is likely due to tissue level depletion of estradiol, regardless of what the serum says, whereas there's more of an even, probably more efficient distribution of estradiol at the tissues if you naturally let the estradiol go in the favorable range. Which is another reason that aromatase inhibitors for a class of individuals that I've seen doing consulting are just not viable fucking options. Which is why when we go back to the study on testosterone cream in the pharmacokinetics, we have our explanation for this right here. We have serum estradiol naturally, even on the higher doses of cream in this study, falling in the under the Quest range for a good degree of the effect duration window of the cream, so 29 picograms per milliliter or below. We've got pretty high DHT that stays above range over here on the left for the duration of the effect duration window. And if we look at the testosterone, we've got testosterone that peaks at 750. It looks like it ultimately peaks at about 780 nanograms per deciliter right here, and then starts to trickle downward throughout the effect duration window of the cream, ultimately ending up somewhere around 400 or 500 at hour 16. And what I'm contending is that the reason that 3 pumps of cream a day with 30 milligrams of pregnenolone with no DHEA, no HCG specifically, so you're not adding in that extra fucking serum estradiol that's coming from the testicles. No DHT derivatives, no proviron, no primobolan, no masteron, no nothing else, no other ancillaries, is a perfect failsafe and fixes people's protocols. It is because serum estradiol can fall in the sweet spot range for TRT, which is always going to be 20 to 40 picograms per milliliter, and for a good degree people 20 to 30 picograms per milliliter, but it's doing it naturally while simultaneously having 1,000, 1,200, 1,300, 1,350 nanograms per deciliter total testosterone, and consistently high DHT throughout the effect duration window, the effective half-life of the transcranial cream. You can't replicate this elsewhere. Okay, I've replicated 1,000 to 1,350 in total tests with estrogen in range, 25 to 35, call it picograms per milliliter with testosterone cream, but you'd be hard-pressed to replicate that with the use of an esterified version of testosterone enanthate, testosterone cypionate, etc. Even without the use of HCG, that estradiol, when you're at 1,350 or 1,400, call it, or 1,250, anywhere in that range is going to be like 40, 45, even without HCG for most people, even if they don't aromatize a lot, don't drink, and don't have a lot of body fat. But with cream, right, because likely DHT being consistently above range, therefore having antagonistic effects at the genetic level of estradiol, as well as ultimately naturally lowering the estradiol because more, when applied to the scrotal skin, is converted to the metabolite of dihydrotestosterone versus estradiol, well, you end up in that reasonable place. I mean, the same thing applies with finasteride. The reason people have sexual dysfunction on finasteride is multifold, but it's inhibiting DHT, so where's your testosterone going to go? It's going to siphon more to estradiol, and that's what we see on the bloods in those people. Over aromatization and under reduction of testosterone to DHT. So the cream, you're doing the opposite of the negative consequences of finasteride, and you are instead siphoning your testosterone more to DHT and less to estradiol. And therein lies, the state in which people out of a 1 to 10 scale in libido and erections are in the 8 to 10 range. I wanted to do this video for people because, I know the biggest problem is, estradiol and ultimately dialing in on TRT, to show people that, sometimes you got to go very simple. Sometimes you have to change the ester. And in some cases, you got to just use testosterone cream, rub 2 to 3 pumps on the testicles in the morning. Don't take HCG. Okay. Take some lecithin to keep ejaculate volume in check. Maybe take a little bit of DHT to keep ejaculate volume even in better check and testicular function better. Take pregnenolone because I think that's pretty critical for most people's protocols. Again, 10 to 30 milligrams a day, but don't take DHEA. Again, no HCG. no Primo, no Masteron. You don't need any of those things, right? Because they would serve to manage estrogen in this case. Give it 3 to 4 weeks and your erections and your libido are going to come roaring back almost every time. Again, I've replicated this in dozens of clients. I think looking at the estradiol, the DHT, the testosterone, specifically how estradiol falls in that reasonable range naturally, therein lies the reasons that this happens. I've been an advocate for testosterone cream for many years. The first time I tried it, I was like, holy fuck, it was very energizing. You know, that crazy energizing effect starts tapering off after, you know, continued use of it, but still it's a good degree of energy. For people that are just on TRT and aren't really looking to be super anabolic, because you would run on high dose TRT or cycle levels and DHT derivatives and stuff for that, then modest doses of cream, no HCG, a little bit of pregnenolone, that's going to fix your protocol. All right, bros, as I said at the beginning, look, I'm a coach on a number of different things, specifically TRT protocol restructuring, where we've got to fix protocols. I mean, that's what I do. I've seen every case under the sun, so I know what to do relatively quickly to dial people in. We've got a one-off call, which is a consult with me, where I'll create a document online after hearing your situation and doing fact-finding with a tailored protocol. And we've also got 3-month, 6-month, and 1-year one-on-one ongoing packages where I'm working with you every other day. We're looking at bloods, we're making adjustments, we're bringing in DHT itself, we're bringing in DHT derivatives if we have to. We'll solve your sexual dysfunction, specifically libido and erection issues on these larger consults. Book me in under a minute at livecortex.com. All right, boys. Yeah, our most popular product is Source List, a compilation of trusted sources for anabolics, ancillaries, and hormone hacking agents. I put it all together. You know, I had to vet all of these, meaning I had to get product from all of them and see if it was good quality product. I also found sources for everything we can think of, stuff that we don't typically get elsewhere, like DHT gel, oral DHT, obviously Proviron, HCG of all types, testosterone of all esters. I mean, imagine being able to circumvent your clinic in the event that they can't help you and get whatever it is that you want to your doorstep in under a week. That is the value of Sourceless. You can get it at livecortex.com. All right, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Please sub to the channel. If you're not subbed to the channel, that makes a huge difference. Like the video, that also makes a huge difference. I recently had an email conversation with Vigorous Steve. He's in high spirits about, you know, after being banned. I'm still trying to get him back. He's executing. We're all executing, tweeting, team YouTube, finding some of the trusted flaggers on Twitter to get a manual review of that channel. So we should see Vigorous Steve back in no time. Let's hope. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. Great hanging out with you. And I'll talk to you boys on the next one.